Hello. Well, finished my first week. I'm at my humble abode, enjoying my Eagles' first win in many, many weeks. And now it's time to share some ideas. Okay, so first week went pretty well. There were some technical glitches. I used Schoology, as I mentioned in my original video, and I linked everything to GeoGebra, and it worked okay. Students have to create an account in GeoGebra using their Google credentials. And for those students that did that, it worked pretty well. That being said, there were some students that did it. And if they don't sign in with their Google credentials, everything that they type on the web page gets lost and they can't go back to it. So they're used to using Kami. That's a PDF. Chrome extension allows them to write, including math symbols on it, for a bargain basement price of $99 per year. I get 150 licenses per year. And since I have a little bit more than that this year, I've contacted the fine folks at Kami in New Zealand, and they gave me 25 additional licenses for free. Anyway, so I'm going to go back to using Kami, but I'm going to show you both methods using GeoGebra and using PDF. So I'm going to share my screen, and here's what's going to look like. So you're going to go to the GeoGebra website. You want to create a profile using Google credentials, and then you want to add illustrated math as one of the resources. So if I scroll down here a little bit, there's illustrated math. It's the entire curriculum, which is really nice. Now, if you go to the Kendall Hunt website, you can download all the PDFs. So I'm going to show you both ways to do this. So we're doing the free curriculum for high school. It'll open up in a separate page. You go to Algebra 2, open up in a separate page. I'm only doing Unit 2. And I've already done all this already, but it's not that hard to get you to look at where they're going to. And I used my big thumb. That didn't work out. Try to Unit 2. Let's try this again. There we go, Unit 2. So I scroll down a little bit, and this has all the stuff you need. So we did the first 3 this week. We did Let's Make a Box, Funding the Future, and Introducing Polynomials. So you can download the teaching materials, but what the student materials does is this. It shows you a picture and it breaks things up both as a lesson and practice. So you do the practice after you do the lesson, of course. It starts off with an initial activity. And let's just go to the lesson itself. So when I go to the lesson, this is what it looks like. And this is what it looks like from a student standpoint. So they have access to the GeoGebra tools, etc. If I want to link this, I created the links back here. Sorry. You create the lesson and I name it by period. I'm just going to call it what it's given. So the default is the name of the lesson. You click create. And what this does is it will create a specific web page for your students to interact with. You click on this little icon up there, which is a universal copy link. And then you go into Schoology. So I happen to have my Schoology open right here. I have my unit. And you can see that I already have combining polynomials, but I'll make another one here just so you can see what they do. Add file link external tool. So the link is already copied to my clipboard. All I got to do is click on this, go to link URL, paste, and usually I put the name of it. So 2.2.4 combining polynomials. I like to open it in a separate page and you click add and then that's it. So the student version will be that. So when the students go, they'll be within the lesson. And then as long as they're logged into Google, they can interact with this all the way through. And then when you're done with the lesson, then they work on the practice. Pretty straightforward. So that's one way. The other way is I downloaded all of the different PDFs from Kendall Hunt and put them in a folder. Just gonna pull up that folder right now. All right, so these are all of the pieces. So when you download the Kendall Hunt material, it creates zip folders of all the stuff that you're going to need. So the task statements is the stuff that students actually do. You can break it up one by one, or you can do an entire lesson. The teacher guide is invaluable. I was not so smart the first lesson, didn't use it, so missed some things. So I don't like to print stuff, but that's one thing I highly recommend, to print up the teacher guide, just to give you a look at what it's like. The lesson, teacher guide lesson, excuse me. So here's my 2.24, which I'm going to be starting on Tuesday. We do ECT prep on Mondays. So it tells you the goals, the learning targets. It gives you a brief overview of what you're going to be talking about. It addresses the specific standards that you're going to be doing. It talks about the instructional routines. There are some instructional routines that you will learn. They're very similar to the Kagan collaborative learning types. And then it'll tell you what you need to print if you have to. So we have black line masters that we're going to need to pull up, and just goes every step of the way. I'm kind of jumping through. So you're going to see what happens, the type of student responses you might get, and gives you some troubleshooting spots. So support for English language learners. Anticipated misconceptions is great, especially for newer teachers, because they don't know what the students are going to know, what they don't. So this is things that you should take look at ahead of time. And then with the actual task statements, and then the correct responses. It has everything you need in it, including how to synthesize the lesson at the end, a cool down activity, has a student lesson summary. It has everything. And I recommend using, especially if you're going to use this for the first time, to do as much as possible, because if you start skipping things, students are going to miss the entire experience, and they're not going to have as rich conversations with one another as you normally would. All right, so without further ado, I want to assign this in Schoology. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set this up for this week, because this has not been done. So I go back into Schoology. So instead of using my GeoGebra, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the student lesson. So for the last year and a half, I've used my own guided notes, mine and my partner. We've created our own curriculum using various tools and resources that are copyrighted that the school district has access to. So 2.2.4, it's combining polynomials is the name. So whenever I want to share something with a student, I actually create an assignment. We sync with Infinite Campus, which is our student information system. But I don't want to sync this because it's just their classwork. I mean, you could grade their classwork or their notes if you want to, but I choose not to. So I'm not syncing with my SIS. Now, what I need to do now is attach that student lesson. So Cami has a app part of, when you buy the license, they'll tell you how to access that from Schoology. I need to go find that student lesson. And I'm going to put the lesson and the practice in as well. So for 2021, this is all my illustrated math folder, and we're in unit 2, which is down here on the bottom. I do not know why. Does not make sense. So I want the student task statements. I have a bunch here. I want the whole lesson, not the individual ones. I'm going to select that. And then you can see that it attaches right there. And then you click create. And what this does is it gives each and every student their own copy of blank set of notes that they can fill in at will. So when they select the assignment, and it's just called an assignment, it's not really an assignment. When you add Cami to your Chrome, the Chrome extension, you can open this. It'll open it up in a separate tab. And it's just a regular PDF, but what you have access to is a suite of tools that are extremely robust. And here is what I mean by that. So if I want to answer questions, I can draw stuff on, like if I want to circle stuff, of course you have control undo. I can shapes, and the most important, oops, that's still a drawing again. There are shapes, so you can make rectangles, you have circles, you have triangles and lines. You can make various pieces. But the most powerful tool when you spend your $99 is there's an equation editor. So if I wanted to say, I don't know, let's make this x times y equals 63. I can make an equation just right then and there, and it will save everything onto their shared Google Drive. And when you make an assignment, and if they turn something in, you can actually have access to it. So even though I don't collect these, say I wanted to take a look at some student notes. I said, okay, you can have kids just do this on an individual basis. It's like, Harry, turn in your notes. I just want to take a look at what you did today. And hopefully Harry won't look at you like a deer in headlights and say, oh, okay. Because I walk around the classroom and I look at them all the time anyway. But if there's ever a question about whether they're either doing the work or I just really want to see if they're struggling, what their notes look like, and maybe I can help them out with it. So this whole thing will save. Everything I type will save on this webpage to Google Drive. And then when I have an actual assignment, they can turn it in. So this is a little bit more than maybe you bargained for in terms of illustrated math experience. But okay, so I'm going to go back into Schoology and go back into my folder. And when I want to actually have them turn something in, I'll make another assignment. So I probably should call this one notes. Now, if you use Schoology, you know that some places allow you to link. Well, we had issues with linking last year, so I can't link these, but I can copy and paste. So once I make like a master copy in my first period class, I can copy it into the rest of them. So this one's going to be actual practice. Here's my assignment, 2.2.4, combining polynomials. And I am a really good speller, but I'm a crappy typist. So I apologize for that. Polynomial practice. Practice, did I spell it right? Yes, practice, there we go. All right, so most of my practice are 10 points. This will be synced, so this counts as a classwork. And I just go back into Cami. Unfortunately, I have to go back through the whole rigmarole of going back down to the level of what I'm looking for. It doesn't take too long. Anybody knows how to use this better, please let me know. I'd be loving to know if I could save myself a few clicks. And there's the student practice problem set. I select and let the interwebs do its thing. It's amazing to me how quickly everybody talks to one another. It is the interwebs. And there we go. So these are the practice problems after they do them. And you open it in Cami, and then they can do this entire assignment on their Chromebooks. Now, some of my kids have touch screens, and some of them have non-touch screens. But at this point in the semester, we're halfway through the first semester. We finished our first quarter a few weeks ago. I require everything to be done using the equation editor. So unless it's like one little thing someplace, I usually require them to do it as an equation editor. If they don't, I make them turn it back in. So that is that. So I'm excited about starting the second week. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. Thanks a bunch.